Hi, I'm Jeff Baker from The Oregonian. This is local film critic Marc Mohan. We're going to talk about 3 new movies in this, the first post-Jurassic World period, the first Jurassic World era. First is the big Pixar movie, Inside Out, which I didn't go to the screening, but Mark, you did. What'd you think?
I did. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I suppose it's not a huge surprise that Pixar has made another pretty wonderful animated feature that kids and grown-ups, I think, will both like. Younger kids, the kids who are the same age as the movie's protagonist, which is 11-year-old Riley, and parents will laugh and cry. It all takes place inside Riley's head, with her emotions sort of anthropomorphized into anger, fear, disgust, sadness, and joy, who is sort of the captain of the ship. Joy and sadness have to go on this journey where they travel through places like Imagination Land in her head. They travel through a spot where they almost get turned into abstract thought, which is a really weird visual joke. And eventually, of course, order is restored and Riley does not succumb to lifelong depression. So, spoiler alert. It's a beautiful looking movie. The 3D is great. The animation is crisp. It's really smart. It's really funny. I don't know what else to say. In the ranks of Pixar movies, it's pretty close to the top, which is saying something. Toy Story 3 might have made me weep a little bit more. And WALL-E might be a little bit more visually spectacular, but to combine the two like this movie does is quite an accomplishment.
Well, that's a pretty crisp summary, Mark. I've heard some reports of parent crying at.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. The next movie is Dope, which is a pretty wild teen comedy. I think it's a teen comedy homage that also has a lot to say about identity and race relations. It is set in Inglewood, a LA suburb. I saw it, Mark, you didn't go to the screening. It's really funny. It is, if you take it on the level of a teen comedy, it is very amusing. It has a wild soundtrack with a lot of, new Pharrell Williams songs. It has the Humpty Dance and Naughty by Nature. It's a really throwback to early 90s hip-hop culture, but also a lot of filmmaking tricks to it. It's really a energetic movie. It loses a little pace in the final 15 minutes. It sort of falls in on itself, but overall, really a fresh, enjoyable take. I think kids will love it, and I think it's a movie that'll catch on and have some life to it, like maybe Risky Business did, sort of summing up the 80s.
You mean kids like teens, not
kids,
necessarily...
Yeah, kids like teens. Yeah, it's not a movie for 10-year-olds, although they would love it if they were able to get in. But like 14, 16, 18-year-olds will go nuts for this, I think, and they should. Third movie this week is the really riveting and unusual documentary, The Wolfpack, about a group of brothers who were raised in isolation in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Young first-time filmmaker saw them on the street when they were, finally like leaving the home of their tyrannical father and venturing out. Befriended them. They were homeschooled, and they really related to the world through movies and did some really detailed, amazing recreations of some of their favorites, including Reservoir Dogs, the Halloween movies, JFK. It's a fascinating subject, a bit of a flawed movie. I loved it a lot, though, and Mark interviewed the director. What did she have to say?
Well, she related it, as you did, just sort of how it came to be. It was a 5-year process from the point where she met these 5 the Angulo brothers, on the street and approached them and made them, befriended them, sort of worked her way into their family circle, which is obviously difficult considering the constraints that they all lived under, and came away with, like you say, a kind of remarkable portrait of these really resilient kids who, despite their cloistered upbringing, had movies to fall back on, and sort of because of that and their own strength, seem like they're gonna be just fine.
That's the amazing thing to me, and everyone who's seen it, it's like how well adjusted they are given their circumstances, and it's really sort of it says something good about movies that they were able to, take positive things from them. Full slate of movies next week too. There's another, not a documentary, but another feature, Heaven Knows What, which is a really depressing yet beautifully shot and acted movie about young heroin addicts in New York City. But on that happy note, hey, if you haven't seen Jurassic World, it's still out there. See you next week.